Love and blessings, beloved family. In Rakma, there is only love. So, I am about to share with you my recent darkroom experience. I'm over here in Bali. I just held retreat for 8 beautiful women, and the crazy reckless part of Mandy thought, it'd be actually. What happened first of all is I signed up for a 3-day water fast, 3 days for 3 days after retreat, and then was going to follow that with the 3-day dark room experience. So 3 day, 3 night. For those of you that don't know about the dark room experience, Google it. I will tell you about my experience. So yeah, I'd signed up for the water fast, and then there is an aspect of me that is very reckless, and that's the younger version. It still comes out in the older version from time to time as well, and as it did in this case. And as it got closer, I just started to think, Mandy, this is crazy. You have just had an incredibly intense experience holding retreat. It's big energetic work. So, you're signing up for a water fast and then a dark room experience. Honestly, just honor your system. Whew. Anyway, so yeah, I got in touch with the lady that runs both of these things up in Tejakula, Tuli, who's absolutely beautiful, and just said, look, it's not the best thing for me to be doing right now. I've just finished holding space for a retreat. Why would I do this to myself unless I was crazy? And so, yeah, she was like, okay, look, that's fine. And she was brilliant. She was like, I'll refund you the money. It's all good. I just go with the flow on these kind of things, which was brilliant. And then, so I thought, okay, well, I'm not doing that. I'm just resting and recovering, which is what my body needs. You can probably still see I'm still quite dark under the eyes. I'm still in recovery mode. Anyway, she got back to me later that afternoon. She said, you could do the dark retreat if you wanted to. It had been my understanding that I'd had to do the water fast first. And so I checked in and I was like, whoa, and it did have a bit of a calling for me in it. And I thought, I checked into it and I was like, yeah, I think that feels good. So then therefore it meant in 3 days' time I was going to be doing the dark retreat, or 4 days, whatever. It was 6 days after retreat that I went into it, I think. I don't know, my concept of time has disappeared somewhat, particularly after being in the dark room. So, yeah, and I must, my whole thought around, when I really started feeling into it, and this was when I was thinking about the water fast and the dark room, I started to think, abject terror came up for me, being in the darkness, 3 days, 3 nights, whoa, that seemed like way too much. And but once I committed and once I said yes and I paid the money, from that point I started to feel okay with it. So anyway, getting to the experience itself. So Tuli and her husband, No Man, run a beautiful space up in Tejakula at the waterfall, and they, so it's a very ceremonial experience. So to begin with, I did a beautiful ceremony of letting go and gratitude, of real gratitude for everything that I have received, everything that I have experienced within this lifetime. So, and that was with a Balinese woman, and it was with offerings at a temple space, which I've been to before, this beautiful temple space. It's the same temple space that I've worked with a Balinese priest that I'm doing some learning with over here, and he's doing some teachings with me. So, yeah, I knew the space well, and then after that, in my full Balinese attire, went under the waterfall and had a massive cleanse, and the waterfall was really pumping because the rain, it's been raining a lot in Bali. Luckily not while my beautiful guests were on retreat, but as soon as they left, thunder, lightning, rain, craziness. So yeah, we did that, and then from there we went over the valley and we went to the two cabins. And I wasn't aware that the two cabins were under the same roof with a shared wall. And there are, anyway, so I'm a ego projector, which basically means that I am, my heart is the ego, and it is defined, and that's what I'm driven by, my heart's guidance. Funnily enough, I teach Heart Light Mastery, which comes into play in what follows. So anyway, I'm showing the room and I put all my stuff down, which I didn't need any of it aside from the vitamins massively. The unfortunate thing is I actually had a bladder infection, and it was like all the lymph nodes in my groin were up, and it was kind of running down my leg, not the urine, but my bladder infection. So that was quite intense to go in with, and maybe some might have pulled out at that point, and perhaps that may have been the best decision. However, it wasn't the decision that I made. I was like, no, I've committed to this, I'm going in. So I went in. Yeah, there was a beautiful man I don't know, I can only say he's a beautiful man because I never saw him. But I could hear his beautiful prayers, and apparently he's a student of Babaji, and his beautiful prayers were just absolutely such soothing to the soul to be able to hear. But I'm jumping around a bit here. So I've gone in there, and I am looking around, and this was before the lights were turned off, put everything down. And then we go back outside, a fire is lit. I got to do Agnihotra, which was really beautiful. The fire's lit, set the intentions. They have a beautiful neem tree there, which is like their welcome tree. How bizarre, we have one at home. Not a neem tree, but a welcome one. So yeah, we go into that. And then I've done all of the ceremony. I've made offerings to the ancestors at the family ceremony place, and then I go into the dark room. I go into the room. So it's just a small room. It's probably, and I'm not sure, I should have tried to measure it out, but maybe it's around 3.5 meters by 2.5 meters, maybe 4 meters by 3 meters, something like that. It's a small room, so it's like a duplex. And it's got a toilet and it's got a shower, but the shower, you have to kind of shower yourself with the back against the wall, otherwise water goes everywhere. Anyway, so yeah, the door's closed. I light the candle, I turn out the lights, and I'm just like, I've acquainted myself with the room. I'm like, okay, let's just do it. We're in here, blow out the candle, and then I was just in complete darkness. And to remain like that. And it was so interesting. So the experience of being in there itself was, to begin with, I had beautiful violet light come in, and it was so interesting just to witness my thoughts. Like, there was no looping part to this at all, but just witnessing them and letting them go. And while I was in there, I also had experiences of, it was like having a massive light show. When I came out, it was literally like my eyes had been prized open. Like, I don't know for any of you that have ever taken LSD, but it's a bit like you've been partying all night and your eyes are prized open, even though the majority of the time my eyes were closed. So I had a series of health issues unravel while I was in the dark room, which impacted my experience incredibly. So and they did their best to cater for my requirements because my system was already overwhelmed. Because my lower gates are open. That's what I utilize in terms of human design. I'm talking here. That's what I utilize to cleanse and clear people. So having someone in such close proximity for me was way too much for my system. It was already overloaded. So yeah, I had other health issues come up, and you know, they assisted me as best as they could with my specific dietary requirements and etc. Anyway, so that was going on. And then, so from a physical perspective, it was actually quite challenging for me. From a spiritual perspective, it was a really, really beautiful experience. As I said before, it was a light show, and just witnessing the thoughts coming through, and having those moments of no thought. And to begin with, I had barely even been in there for very long, and all of a sudden I started seeing this beautiful purple violet light, nanoviolet, just started coming in, and it was just amazing. That was incredible. And there were other light shows, and just the real feeling of Christ consciousness too. And basically, because I didn't get much sleep, because my system was cleaning, my system was overactive, so I would lie down and I would just rest and have this amazing light show go on. And then other times I would feel like I would get up and do some yoga. So I would do Viparita Karani, legs up the wall. That was my favorite. And some pranayama and just meditation. And other times energy would become really intense and I'd be shaking it out. And serpentine movement became massive. Like the whole swaying of the hips, just really getting into that. So much more. And it was interesting because on the last morning that I was there, and I do say on the last morning that I was there because I did not stay the whole 3 days. Interesting, that last morning, actually, there had been also an annihilation of my ego, an absolute annihilation of my ego, kind of like, you know, who do you think you are, and you think you're this and you think you're that, and it was just like, whoa. And I just witnessed that as an onslaught. And then, the morning that I left, I was just feeling so safe and so held, aside from my physical aspects that were going on. And I was just like, I could stay in here for longer. I wonder if I could. Maybe I should pass. And then, not that long after that, what came through for me is you need to leave. And I sat with that for a while, and I was a bit like, where did that come from? I checked with my pendulum, and it's amazing because you can actually feel the sensation of the circle, which for me means yes, or the no. And I could feel that, and it was definitely like, you need to get out. So then I sat with that again, and I was a bit like, oh. And, you know, what I completely understood was that the only reason that I would stay in there was for my own spiritual ego. So, when I realised that, because I have a very strong will, I mean, I did 11 years on the path of purification, so, you know, it was okay. This is not in my highest possible good to stay any longer. I need to get out. Anyway, there was a whole process around getting out. Tuli, the owner, was actually off the land for the first time. She'd had a toothache, so she was at the dentist. So I had to do it by myself, or I could have waited till evening. But once I decided that I needed to get it out and understood what was going on for me from a physical perspective, I was out. I wasn't going to stay there any longer. I mean, there is a whole completely different process, beautiful process to coming out that I didn't follow. However, you know, my biggest takeaways from this my biggest takeaways is letting go of that spiritual ego and the need to prove myself to anyone, and you know, to live from my heart's own truth as to what is in my highest possible good. So that's a kind of briefish snapshot. Briefish, 15 minutes. So much more came out of it. I've written my first song. Maybe one day I'll get brave enough, and I learned how to play the drum with my hands. That song came out afterwards. I just had 2 lines of it while I was in there. I just feel so much greater depth to what I am channeling, what I'm connected to. So yeah, and I'm also still integrating. Like, even to be on the screen has been like way too much for me. So I just wanted to drop in here and share that. I'll tag the place in here, Shambala Retreat Centre, which is so funny because, Shambala Darkness Retreat, which is, I held our women's retreat at Shambala as well. So, and Shambala just has the most amazing meanings. So anyway, I think that's enough. It's giving you a snapshot of what came through for me, of my dark room experience. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. Inanna Rakma.